We've had one very serious crime committed with a youngster murdered out in the Cobb Park area in Polly by a mentally retarded child. And then over the past weekend, we had two mentally retarded youngsters with criminal tendencies commit a burglary in the Eagle Mountain area. It's something that's very serious that has arisen here in our county.
At the moment, where do you put these children?
At the present time, they're in the Tarrant County Jail. Previously, of course, they were in the youth center, and then we have them roaming the neighborhood.
What do you specifically propose to do about the problem?
Well, I'm writing Lieutenant Governor Barnes and Speaker Mutcher, both of whom I served with in the House of Representatives. Both of them are men that I know that are very concerned about such problems, that a survey should be made between now and the time that the legislature goes into session with an idea of providing state facilities for the youngsters who are retarded but with criminal tendencies. We don't have such in the state at this time.
Do you visualize then eventually and ultimately, perhaps within a very short time, some sort of system of homes throughout the state to treat this sort of child or to care for this sort of child?
I'm sure that we'll have the necessary facilities.
Well, of course, the reason is the widespread drug problem that we have in this area and all over the United States, of course. And we applied for this $200,000 plus grant from the federal government for narcotic education, to educate first the child or the young person against the use of drugs, and secondly, to educate the parents to recognize the problem in the child and then what to do about the problem once they recognize it.
How will the school system enter into this program?
Well, we have a very comprehensive plan, and the school board has also, and we will cooperate 100% with the school board. They are very interested in this problem, as are we. And we intend to work together on this in the public schools with the children.
We want to actually help provide better tools for law enforcement. We want to help in eliminating the use of drugs. We think that's very detrimental to our population, and we're going to do everything that we can to actually eliminate the drug use. And of course, legislatively, as we announced today at our district meeting here in Dallas, we're appointing a Blue Ribbon Committee, which we want it to be a liaison group between the East Texas Chamber of Commerce and the governor's staff. The governor and his staff, and of course we want to meet with he and his staff and possibly key members of the House and Senate on legislative matters that will be coming before the legislature, which will convene in January.
Arthur, you have a very
The major factors that we considered, Mr. Sinclair, are the cost of land, construction, and operation. The second major factor is the nature of the usage that we currently experience and expect to experience at a central library site, accessibility both by car and by public transportation, and the availability of parking facilities.
The only place that we have that we can send them at this time is to the Tarrant County Jail.
What about the Denton State School, perhaps Mahia or somewhere else?
These are overcrowded, and they do not choose. At the Denton State School, they have a waiting period there of some 2 years, and these youngsters with criminal tendencies pose a danger not only to themselves but to the other youngsters who are in the school, and so this is no place for them.
Officials gathered as to what to do about the radical element, whether expulsion or some other idea about that?
No, in fact, we didn't, there was really no discussion on what
probably should be done with the radical element. I think there was a recognition that it does exist, and that the effort to radicalize college and university campuses will continue. But I think perhaps our greatest stress was placed again on that large group of students who fall within both extremes and who are not likely on most campuses to follow the extreme, and particularly in the radical element, but who do want some answers and who do want to become involved in the solution of many of the problems of our society.
Dr. Halladay, if the students who are working within the system campaigning for election fail, what will be due next year? What will happen?
I want to see that frankly from an institution.
Dr. Halladay, you had an opportunity to express your opinion. That was the reason for the invitation. And what is your opinion about the campus unrest in general?
Well, my opinion is, of course, that we recognize the very radical element whose efforts at one extreme is to disrupt the institution and its basic purpose. That there is developing, perhaps, on some campuses and in some regions in this country, another extreme, to the right, in this case, developing in response to and in opposition to the radical left, and that this very likely can and will cause some serious problems. We're talking about the kind of hard hat approach now. That great majority of students, in my opinion, are legitimately concerned, but are legitimately concerned in such a way that they can approach these problems with reason, but that they are seeking answers, and they want forthright, logical answers, and they want to understand what's taking place in our society and why some of our major problems can't be solved immediately. And I think this is probably our biggest problem for all of us, to understand that there is no instant solution to a major social problem.
Would you say you were optimistic that the radicals and the reactionaries would be swallowed up then in the majority?
Well, I'm not overly optimistic, but I think we're seeing, I have to speak now for my own campus, a very reasonable approach to these kinds of things, and a willingness to talk out and to seek proper answers and to operate within the bounds of reason and within the purpose and objectives of a university.
Compared to other colleges, there hasn't been really much student unrest in Texas colleges and universities. Why, in your opinion?
Well, I would have to generalize here, but I think there's this has to do with our region and the political and social values and philosophies that exist in this region. We're quite aware of this. We can see on the west and the east coast the kinds of problems that are occurring there that are not yet occurring here. We can see some of them moving in our direction as they do occur. But in general, our students are not as prone to the radical, destructive kinds of activities that students in other regions of these United States seem to be.
As a college administrator, how do